So Dan, what do you want to call this show?
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting poked, so poke the gorilla.
Oh yeah, you're the gorilla.
Yeah, I'm the gorilla. Yeah.
I gotta ask you though, Sean. We're doing more of this. This is part 2.
Yeah, so we're going to have to do part 2. I think we finished that last one and felt like we didn't get through the topic completely. So we should kind of pick it up from where we left off.
Well,
we're talking about family, the role of government in family, and how family's evolved and what that's kind of done to our society. So I think, you can reiterate your point being, government
should get the hell out.
Government should get out. Whereas my point is, my assertion is that it's human nature has brought us here. It didn't have anything to do with government specifically, although government is human too, right? So, I'm not saying that government isn't part of the problem, because they're part of our society, and there's a lot of people in it. But absent government, I don't think it would be different. I still think we would be striving, under our current system, we'd be striving for more and more to get more than the person next to us, which then led to, a little bit more individualism, a little bit less emphasis on the nuclear family, and a little bit more straining of our resources.
Well, first of all, let me just clarify something for you. Where I blame government isn't necessarily on the strive for more stuff, because there's obviously a desire to have more stuff. The average family household now has more than one car, has more than one TV, et cetera, et cetera. They actually have air conditioning and things like microwaves and all that good stuff. Where I draw the line and where I have the problem with government is government has made it easier to make babies without a committed relationship. And that's where I have a problem, because these kids are... Look, it's very simple. Should a woman have the right to have a child? Yes, if she's okay paying for it. But what happens is they bear these children become the ward of the state, they become mine and your responsibility, because we're the ones that are working at the moment, and thank goodness, and paying taxes. That's where I draw the line. Government has taken on the role, in a lot of cases, of being a parent.
Oh, wait. Okay, so back up for a second here. So, by saying that, you're kind of insinuating that in parts of the world where government isn't, influencing their hand, putting social programs, that there's less incentive to have children. And I think we can positively prove that's wrong. In less developed countries, people have more children.
We're not in a less developed country.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm just trying to relate back to human nature here, in that absent the hand of government or the hand of socialist redistribution, there is actually more, people have more children. It's and in terms of wedlock, or anything like that, that's not even an issue. Look at African countries and other countries where, populations just blow up because people still have, 5, 6, 7 children.
Okay, well, here's the difference, okay? In the developed world, specifically in the U.S. and in Europe back a number of years ago, people had huge families but took care of themselves.
Sure.
Now,
at the time, children were an asset.
That's correct.
They were things that actually increased the wealth of the family in a lot of ways.
But
Whereas now, that's not the case.
Let's go back to 1960, when a very small percentage of children were born out of wedlock. As government got involved, that number blew up. So we're talking about a society that used to value committed relationships to have children, that all of a sudden it's not quite as important. And the commonality, the common factor, or the linking factor is the federal government. And that's why I have that problem. I have a real problem with that.
Well, see, so here's another side to this story here. So, we disagree on that point, but at the same time, we also say, well, the problem of having both parents having to go work to live a modern lifestyle has degraded certain elements of the family, right?
We can agree on that,
right? But you can understand why that happens when really, as a society, we've devalued the work that, in my opinion, the important work that's done in the household, raising children. Right. Tending the household, making sure that it's organized and working well.
Right.
We don't value that
home safe environment.
We don't value that in terms of we might value it intellectually, but we certainly don't value it financially.
In a lot of aspects of our society, you're absolutely right.
So the drive is the drive to succeed is financial. So then domestic work becomes a part-time job, primary job becomes outside, and you say, and so you kind of agree that is an issue.
I do. And
Right.
frankly, before we had our muffins, okay?
Yeah.
Remember what I said earlier. I'd like to see something between the two. I'd like to see the Ozzie and Harriet world with the lifestyle that we have. Let's face it.
Okay.
Our lifestyle has improved. Our standard of living has improved dramatically over the last 40, 50 years. Dramatically.
Our standard of living measured by
Goods and services.
goods and services.
Yes.
But we are now saying that our the quality of our lives
Different.
due to the degradation of family values, family unity, things along those
Yeah.
lines is negative. So I would then say, okay, well, how do we incentivize family values, so to speak? Incentivize. I mean, you know,
I mean, incentivize
Meaning-
a family, like to keep a single person,
just-
somebody in the household?
to make that work more valuable so that people choose, because as you say, choose to value that enough to have somebody that be their primary job. Whereas, and how do we do that commercially? Because your assertion is that, you know, well, government should get out of this business. Well,
Yep.
well, I don't see a commercial profitable solution to having that be valuable, short of somehow there being an extreme increase in the average pay, but at the same time, lifestyle cost stays the same. And I don't think economics.
Okay, first of all, let's
Allow
start with
that to
this.
happen.
First of all, that should be a family decision. In other words, the decision whether a person stays home, a mother or a father, stays home with the children or goes to work should be a decision made by the family based on their resources and their availability of resources. Not based on something that they could be subsidized by you and me.
Okay.
We subsidize enough. Secondly, if in fact you want to subsidize somebody for staying home and taking care of a child, that subsidy should come from the free market. And what I mean by that is,
How does that happen?
I'll tell you how it happens. If you
Okay.
have fewer dollars to spend, what happens? There's fewer goods and services bought, right?
True.
So what happens is these companies pull in their horns or they raise wages so their products get sold. So if you leave it to the free market, you'll find a balance. And that's just the way of the world. Free markets are the most efficient way to do this.
So you're saying a pullback, because in effect, if what you're saying is that a pullback in spending would cause the market, or you know, the
shift.
industry to shift.
Of course.
But you're not really taking into account what happens during that shift. Do you really think? I mean, to me, what you're saying is basically we just need a depression to get through this.
Not at all. Not at all.
Because if people
You
just
don't
stop
have to go
buying
through-
stuff in
you don't-
mass, I just don't see any other result.
First of all, you said en masse. That's not the case. First of all, there's
Well,
any
I mean,
change.
a societal
that's-
change
If
is
you
en
think
masse.
about it, no, it's not en masse. What it is, it's over time. That's
Okay.
we've gotten here over
Mass
time.
Over time.
Yeah, but over time. So
Okay.
it doesn't happen dramatically. It's not tomorrow morning all of a sudden General Motors is going to stop building
Well, even
cars.
decades, you know, has a
We got
profound
here over
impact.
decades.
Yeah, we got here over decades,
Correct.
and we experienced booms and
Oh, and
busts
by the
along
way, remember also that getting here, we didn't create any more dollars. We just shifted them. It just doesn't make sense
We
to
didn't
me.
create any more dollars. Explain.
We
that.
created more wealth.
Okay.
But we didn't create those dollars. What they did was to give these folks subsidies, to give them the ability to live that didn't have a visible means of support. The money didn't magically grow on a tree. It came from me and you.
Money magically grows on trees anyway. It doesn't exist I mean, it doesn't exist, but in our
The
minds.
ability to buy.
So you're saying the money supply? I mean, we're getting
No,
a
what
bit
I'm
apart.
saying
You're
is
saying
the
the money
ability to
supply has
purchase.
remained constant?
No, I said, well, first of all, M1 has nothing to do with it.
No, but I mean, you know, that's what you say. Create dollars, don't
No,
create dollars.
no.
I mean,
what I'm
you know.
saying is the money that certain people spend in this society didn't come from their labor. It came from mine and yours. That's where it came from. And that's true wealth. In other words, what happens every time I pay a tax dollar that goes to somebody that didn't earn it, my labor is being stolen. Okay? And that's where I'm going with this. In other
But
words,
wait a second,
okay.
wait a second. So if you give that tax dollar to somebody who needs it to basically live, and then
Yeah.
they go get a job, and their increase in economic, and their increase is more than your decrease due to your tax, you're saying that is a theft and a negative impact on the
Any
economy?
dollar that's taken from me and given to someone that
So-
didn't earn it is a theft. However, let me start there. Let me stop there. One of the fundamental problems with the social welfare system in this country is it's on or off, on or off, on or off, and I don't agree with that. I think the social welfare system in this country should be there to help people get back on their own. So if you have a person who is without a job, needs $35,000 a year to live, you give him that $35,000. But if he goes and gets a job and makes $25,000, You shouldn't shut off the 35. You should shut off all but 10. You see my point?
Okay.
Okay? So if you're going to have a system that is supposed to be a hand up, not a hand out, then make it a hand up. But what happens is, because of the bureaucracy, because of the bureaucracy, it's turned into a handout. Sorry about that. Go too far. Go ahead, make a last point. Hurry up.
Well, no, my only point is I don't think we're going to resolve this. And maybe we'll come back to this in a later episode. Because ultimately, this kind of moved into a welfare state type of discussion.
Yeah, I know, it's a different discussion.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah, you're right.
My only assertion is that, there's not a clear solution. We can agree that, getting back to centralized family values seems to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
We obviously disagree about how to get
How
there.
to get there, exactly.
So,
It's still pretty
well, we'll continue this discussion.
All right, listen, I want another muffin.
Okay.
I know I'm getting
I'm
fat.
just gonna have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, all right, you have a cup of coffee, I'll have a muffin.
All right. Sounds good.